Oh, it's Thursday evening. Thursday night football is soon upon us, and we're back with the NFL Around the UK show. Got the boy DJ and Matty in the house. How are we doing, boys?
Not too bad, not too bad. Thursday night football to look forward to, so life is pretty good. It's almost a weekend. Come on now, DJ. How you doing, my boy?
I'm good. Very nice to finally have a weekend where you get your winning team actually winning. So
it's been a while, isn't it? Been a while for you boys, but yes, it's kind of we're just having a little look around. Matty, Shane Waldron got fired from OC coaching. DJ, you want to give us a bit of a brief rundown on that one?
Yeah, so obviously this news broke a couple of days after that massive defeat against the Patriots that finished 19-3.
19-3.
I hope. 19-3. I think it was more noticeable the way that they've lost. I think they conceded about 9-10 sacks in that game. And you can just see that Caleb was struggling. The offensive line was struggling. And I think they just got to the point where they just felt that a change was needed. It was either benching Caleb, which I don't think many people wanted that happening, although there was slight rumours around that veteran players were calling for that to happen. But they've then obviously made a decision to let the offensive coach relieved of his duties. That was kind of like the breaking news after that defeat.
Mm. A change had to happen at the Bears, right? Something had to happen. Yeah. Was that enough? Is that very much like the Jets? Oh, we'll fire the head coach and we'll move the OC around and everything else. It's kind of just covering the fact that really should it be Eberflus that goes? Is he just on borrowed time?
I suppose it's a weird one, isn't it? I feel like this, this Bears situation is a bit weird because I feel like a lot has almost gone against them, I guess. Because I feel like, and to be fair, I was very guilty of thinking this. I think before the season kicked off, I got quite caught up in the Bears hype, right? Because there was a lot to be excited about. It felt like, with the number one pick, Caleb Williams, but it felt different than other times they've been in this situation. And it felt like this was going to be a really solid season. And I kind of feel like, I can't remember where I heard it, but it's one of those things that ever since I heard it, I've not been able to kind of think of a way to sum it up better. But I feel like this season, we all kind of felt like the Bears were maybe going to do what the Texans did last season, right? And kind of blow onto the scene and sort of make a big statement. But I also feel like with everyone expecting that to happen, it's almost put a bit too much pressure on it happening, right? Like the Bears weren't allowed that year to maybe sort of get accustomed, and they could still turn this around. Obviously, it's getting a bit late now, so maybe
their schedule is
brutal, and
one of the hardest ones.
And the three other teams in that division aren't exactly to be sniffed at.
So I mean, maybe playoffs is gone now, like especially because 4 and 5 isn't awful, but like you said, that division that's a hard division to get out of, period. Like those are tough teams to be in the division with, and like you said, their schedule is bad. I still think this team could come good by the end of the season, even if their record isn't good, as long as they have been playing okay and it shows that the Caleb Williams thing is going all right. But I think we maybe expected a bit too much of them too soon. And to be fair, on paper, it did seem like everything was going to be great. But I also think you need to think, okay, this is A, on paper, which in the NFL means absolutely nothing. we all know this.
We should all have learned enough of that. Yeah.
B, I don't mean to sound incredibly rude, because I know I've had, a couple of jibes at them in preseason with just outlandish statements. This is the Chicago Bears. So normally, when you think everything is going to go fine, it very rarely ever does. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one in Chicago.
Yeah, I think what Matt has just said there, I think the pressure's got to them a bit too much. I think with them getting the number one overall pick in Caleb, I think their expectations were like sky high. And you got to be honest, the kid is a rookie coming into the NFL. You can't. I know he's got weapons, and on paper, like you said, the team is set to get to their playoffs easy. But like you say, you've got a tough division. I just don't feel. I think the expectations were way too high this year. I think, like you say, if they can do some good things throughout this year and then build the momentum on that going into the next year or the next 2 years, then they're onto something. But I feel that they're in a similar thing that what the Patriots are doing. They're in a rebuild mode. But I understand the fans' point of view. You know, you get their overall pick in Caleb and you expect big things from him. But I think there's just too much pressure at the moment and it's too focused on him. So, yeah.
Do you think this is a good point? I think that's a very good question, because I not that I'm just stealing takes from other places, but I feel like I just listen to way too many NFL podcasts. Is the theory of this? But I've been listening to this show called The Facility, which I know Emmanuel Acho is on, and some other dudes I don't know by name, which is pretty horrendous. So you can murder me in the comments for that one. But I believe, is it Chase Daniel, ex-quarterback, who is on The Facility, I think. But I know he's done a lot of analysis and says, like, you know, some of the stuff that Caleb Williams does is fantastic, but sometimes he doesn't just do the quote unquote sensible thing and just take what is there. And sometimes maybe does a bit of what Josh Allen kind of gets criticized for, and sometimes plays hero ball when it's not entirely needed. Fantastic. There we go. That's what we like, having Paul in the chat. Always there to correct me on
the whole point of having people in there. Well done, Paul. Thanks.
And the chaotic all caps. We love it. But yeah, it does sometimes seem like he, again, and I love Josh Allen. I think he's absolutely box office. And I know this year he's been a bit better at it than most years, but sometimes he is very guilty of not just taking what is there and thinking, okay, I could have this like 97.5% chance of being completed pass that only get me like 2 yards, or I could go for this play that probably won't come off, but boy, if it does, that's going to look really, really cool. Gary, you know a lot more about the college side of the game than I do. How accurate is this?
When he was at USC, certainly in his his year before, his Heisman Trophy winning year, it was the Caleb Williams show, and just 10 other guys on offense around him for USC. He was, as Paul says, hero ball. But, you know, as we've mentioned before, college is a completely different game. It's played at most by kids up to 21, 22 years old. So when you've got a freak athlete, and there is no denying the talent and the athletic prowess of Caleb Williams, he stands head and shoulders above some of the college players, and it showed. And that's why he won the Heisman Trophy that year. He was the best player out there.
Yeah.
College, right? And there's a cap on that, and there's a limitation to it. And when, you know, the NFL, the pros are different.
Yeah.
In Kettlerfish, and he's still trying to play college-esque style things, right? You know, not taking the check downs, taking those hero chances, taking the big shots. The problem is he's got the receiver out there to do it, right? So, you know, when the doomsday out, he should be able to be taking those shots. He's just, he has no time, because he was able to do all that stuff at USC because they had an offensive line. And the Bears don't. I mean, no disrespect, DJ, but the Patriots sacked him 9 times.
Yeah, that is like, we've never had that in multiple years. Years and years ago. It's crazy. For us to be able to do that line's got to be worse than ours. Yeah,
it's got to be bad, right? Because you look at the Patriots D line, and there isn't a star defensive end. There isn't like a JJ Watt. There isn't a TJ Watt. There isn't a Nick Bosa. There isn't, you know, Hassan Reddick. There isn't a name on there that you could go, oh, no wonder he, you know, they tore it up because he plays for the Patriots on defense. The Patriots are in a rebuild mode. There isn't any, but there's functional bodies in there, and they were able to get to him 9 times.
Yeah,
I didn't see the game, but I should imagine he was running for his life for the rest of it. And they only got to him 9 times. He probably had to scramble and move pretty much every other snap that he was working. They were playing. So yeah, you can't put it all on him, but the organization did set their stall out and kind of go and get him. So, you know, they've got to go with him. They've got to. It's one of those sink or swim moments, right, for the Bears. They've got to put him in because they got him for first. They picked him first. Yeah, he is the future. They've got to see what he's got. He's got to get bloodied, get bruised, go through the teething problem, whatever way you want to say it. Hopefully, for his sake, he doesn't end up another Bryce Young Zach Wilson. You can list a number of first round QBs for the last 4 or 5 years who got thrown into hideous situations. I don't think the Bears situation is that bad, which is why, as you say, Matty, a number of us were like, it's probably the best place a first drafted quarterback has gone for the last few years. Bryce Young went to a hideous place. Zach Wilson at the Jets was a hideous place to go. The Bears seemed better set up. They just haven't been able to coach them. They haven't been able to coach the college out of Caleb Williams yet, or appreciate
line as well. They can restructure that a bit and then kind of protect her a bit more. You might be able to in college. The thing I wanted to discuss about Caleb was, now correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I watch him play, and when he gets sacked or when things don't go his way, his body language tends to change a bit, and he comes across as like being this spoiled little brat that wants his own way, which is similar what fucking Rodgers is half of the time as well. But
potentially at the other end of the spectrum.
That's moving, yes. Yeah.
And I think
the spice is coming out. Just
do you think Drake May? I think Drake May is a better QB than Caleb Williams right now. He's a better NFL-ready QB.
Yes,
that's all I'll say.
Yeah,
because
I think
he played a bit.
But again, we're in the same situation where we're in a rebuild. We need to now start rebuilding around him. We know what May's capable of, but it's putting those fundamental pieces in place for him to be able to, one, have time in the pocket, and two, to be able to have someone to throw to that's half decent.
Yep.
I think once we can establish that, then I think we can start then moving forward as an offense. But at the moment, it's just a bit.
To be honest, on Paul's comment, probably because the Patriots are not renowned for knee-jerk QB change reactions, whereas quite frankly, I don't foresee the coaching staff at the Bears being the same. I mean, I know that it's already had a change. But I can't imagine that the GMs and everybody at the front office of the Bears aren't already going, maybe it wasn't just the offensive coordinator that's caused this problem.
It feels like a much more volatile organization, I think, doesn't it? And I suppose potentially part of that comes from, I guess, obviously, like the Patriots at the moment are in like that real building phase, but obviously they have had a lot of success. I feel like they're a lot more maybe like comfortable, should we say, in their own like decision making, because they know they have got it very right previously. Obviously, right now they're in a moment, but I feel like they kind of back themselves to get this right and to give it the time to build it. Whereas I suppose with a lot that's happened with the Bears in recent memory, they probably are a bit more like jittery, I guess. Like I don't know if they feel that confident that this will work, and they maybe are going to be a bit more knee jerk. Something interesting that I just want to look at, and this is like a major throwback, not to just beef myself up, and I'm not necessarily saying I still think this is true, by the way. But I don't know, Gary, if you remember back to the preseason episode where I was just reeling off absolutely outrageous statements, and I was seeing who agreed with me.
Yeah.
Now we did have a Caleb Williams one, I brought up another one that I wrote down that I didn't read out at the time, but I put as my fifth statement, by the way.
God, we did come up with
some of these are wild, but actually now looking at genius. Number 2, the Commanders will finish higher in the NFC East than the Cowboys. I look like an absolute genius right now.
I think we all agreed with that, though, because we all thought that the Cowboys were frauds this year, didn't we?
Number 5, did not read this one out because I didn't highlight it. 5, Caleb Williams. I don't know what I had against the Bears writing this. Caleb Williams will flop, as is tradition for all Bears drafted QBs. In a few years, he will be the next Justin Fields being traded out of Chicago as they draft first overall again. Now, I'm not 100% necessarily saying I totally believe that, because I do feel like Caleb Williams is, I don't know. But then I was going to say is too talented to not work in the NFL. But then is that getting into the territory of, yeah, exactly. Oh, that seems too good to go down. That doesn't exist. Like the NFL is brutal, and if you don't start proving your worth pretty quickly, and like, I'm not saying that he hasn't.
Does it seem to you, just actually saying that? Sorry, Matty, to jump in. Does it seem to you, DJ? And I know, Matty, you're reasonably new into your sort of fandom. Does it seem like the NFL is now a lot more reactive to things in terms of first rounders and QBs having to plug in and go straight away? You know what Matty says, he's just sort of highlighted there. But
I think it's more
as a first round, and he has to win now.
But I think it's more the expectations of the fans, the media. You know, you spend. I mean, we sat May for what the first 5 weeks was it, and by week 2 they was already asking, right, where's May?
Going, why is he not playing? May? Yeah.
And I was probably one of the couple of Patriots guys were saying, no, I'd rather sit him this year, make him learn the playbook,
learn how to be an NFL
learn the
player,
fundamentals. Yeah, exactly. And then stick him in maybe year 2. Similar to what Mahomes did. And look how he's balling out now. So,
and that's what gets me. It's only been 5 years max, right? Where, you know, Mahomes got picked up. He had Alex Smith there. He watched, he learned, he saw how to be an NFL QB, learned how to do the video room training, leading the team. He learned and then steps in, you know, and everyone's bemoaned Green Bay, but Green Bay have done it for the last 30 years. They draft high, get a good QB, they sit them, watches behind a veteran, steps in, can play, knows how to do the system, rinse and repeat. But it seems
I think that's the way to continue to do it. But
it has to be. But it just seems that all of those other, you know, recent times, in recent memory at least, all these franchises who have drafted a QB first or second, I suppose the Texans.
Yeah, it's just all the
anomaly,
it's all the criticism. It's the criticism they're getting. They're saying, right, you've spent your first, second round pick on this geezer. Why aren't you starting him already? What?
Yep. Why is he not playing? 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 He must be the next best, you know, the next whatever.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it's and I suppose that is, you know, that double-edged sword of social media and having access to everything so much now that, you know, you're exposed to that level. But it does seem like, you know, from in my day, harkening back to my, you know, early watching the NFL, it seems a new sort of knee-jerk, sort of a year and a half. You get a year and a half and that's it. It's like, hang on, you get 4 or 5 year contracts. Why can't you wait a bit?
The downfall from that, from my point of view, is like, if you rush him in too quick, you're kind of like setting him up to fail because he's not.
You wouldn't be picking him first if your team was any good.
It's similar to like Mac Jones, for example.
Yeah,
prime example. I think he wasn't prepared enough. We just threw him in the deep end after Brady, and said, "There you go, see you later." And we've never helped the kid with any running backs, any running game, any sources of like primary weapons or anything like that. Exactly. And he just had it all in his head, and we destroyed the kid. And now look where he's at. Jags back up
at the Jag. Yeah, and it's the same as Zach Wilson, right? Zach Wilson went to the New York Jets, and they had a horrible team, and no wonder he didn't do very well. Bryce Young went into the worst team in football, didn't do very well. Is it his fault, or is it the fact he's playing on the worst team in football? You draft these guys high because your team was bad for the last year or whatever else, you know? Okay, it's not quite that because, you know, you do have that trading up for the first and whatever else sometimes. And, you know, the Panthers sold their house to go and get Bryce Young, and they're suffering for that. But you don't get a first-round QB. You don't get a QB number 1 unless your team is bad. And it's not going to be a magic bullet unless you go and do some other stuff around that. And, you know, that's what it seems like other teams have not done recently. And it just seems, you know, it just, to me, I'm just thinking about it. It's like, what's happened to that? Yeah, the Texans are the anomaly. And I think everyone thinks, well, the Texans did it, so everyone should be able to do it. But the Texans didn't just go and draft a QB highly. They got a new coach. They went and did a load of free agencies. They got a load of veteran guys around. And GM came and changed a lot of things. And got a QB at the same time. Whereas a lot of the other teams are just going, we've got our magic QB, everything's fine.
No,
can't keep him upright. We can't. He's got nobody to throw to, and he's got nobody to hand the ball off to. But it's fine because, you know, the next generational talent's here. Anyway, that's me on my high horse.
No, I do think there's something to be said for it, though, right? Like, I mean, if I promise everyone obviously knows I'm a 49ers fan, and I'm not going where you think I'm going with this, although I kind of am to a point. Is there not just like a league-wide quarterback development issue? Like, because I don't want to be that guy. I love Joe Flacco. I think Joe Flacco is wicked. But given the 2 quarterbacks on the Colts, right? In theory, I don't want to be that guy. But unless Richardson is dying, I feel like he should be out there, even if he's an absolute trash fire right now. Like I feel like he needs to figure this stuff out, right? Like he has to. But my main point where I was going with this, even if I just look at all of the quarterbacks that were taken in the 2022 draft, and obviously that's a very significant draft for the team that I support, and we're fully aware why. But let's just take a look at who was taken. So round 1, pick 20, Kenny Pickett, Pittsburgh Steelers. Where is Kenny Pickett? He's not still in Pittsburgh. He is now the backup at the Eagles? ? He came on when they took Jalen Hurts against the Cowboys. Mad. Yeah, he's the backup for Philadelphia now. When
I remember that. I remember them going there and everyone getting good pick for Pittsburgh. He's played in Pittsburgh, knows the system, he'll fit well in there. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Right, then next pick, all the way down to round 3. Okay, again, this is not obviously a heavily very talented quarterback draft, but this is just for a point. Round 3, pick 74. Desmond Ridder to the Atlanta Falcons. Where is Desmond Ridder? ? He is somewhere, but the point is,
insane, isn't he?
This is my point. Where is this man? He is nowhere. Round 3, pick 86. Malik Willis. What's happened to Malik Willis? He's still lurking around somewhere. Actually, I think that's the name.
Green Bay's back to the Packers.
There you go. He's the Green Bay back.
He's actually won a couple of games for Green Bay.
He has.
It was when Love was down.
Round 3, pick 86. Matt Corral to the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, he went AWOL.
It even says he did not play a snap of his entire rookie season. Didn't play a snap for the Panthers. That's not ideal.
He came to the Patriots and then was a backup, and then he left. We had to let him go because he has issues, or he never turned up one day for practicing up with it.
Speaking of the Patriots, round 4, pick 187. Bailey Zappi. I mean,
he's played a couple of games.
He's back up now. I think.
He's played a couple of games. I know Belichick quite liked him, didn't he? When
he stepped in okay, didn't he?
Yeah.
But you know, and then round 5, pick 154. Sam Howell for the Commanders. He's no longer at the Commanders. I don't think is he Vegas Raiders backup now?
Is he or Seattle backup?
Seattle Rams.
Seattle backup, I think.
Another backup.
Either way. Anyway, another.
Skylar Thompson to the Dolphins. Again, he's stepped in for a couple of games when Tua has been.
Looks terrible. Looks terrible, though.
But does not look good. Then, obviously, yes, we have the ridiculous outlier. Round 7, pick 262. I don't think I even need to say who was drafted at that spot.
Who's that?
A certain Brock Purdy.
The last pick of the draft.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of
him. Never taken a snap. Never thrown a ball.
Where's he at?
Never won
I don't know. He's probably bumming off
on some practice squad somewhere.
But like my point is obviously that's like a very recent draft, and I remember. I don't know why this sticks in my head so much. I specifically remember all the draft coverage about Kenny Pickett because everyone was wondering if his hands were too small. That really sticks with me because I remember just thinking like this is so silly. Like what any other sport? Imagine listening to this and being like this is actual news. But
then you think of the year before, which was like the big year of QBs, right?
Yeah.
And none of them are still in the league, or none of them are still at the team that drafted them, or are starting.
Well, I don't mean to drop him in it, but I do think based on hype, which is what I'm potentially worried might happen to Caleb Williams, but based on hype and output, I know he's got the contract now, but I would say he's definitely been a disappointment based on how hyped he was when he came into the league. But Trevor Lawrence, I don't
generational talent.
Exactly. That was when I was just getting into it because I remember playing my 49ers franchise mode and everyone was like, right, Jimmy G is not the guy. Draft, trade up to the number 1 pick and draft Trevor Lawrence. And I was like, okay, fair. He's got pretty fabulous hair. That's going to be fine. And I remember that was all I was ever told was that he was like generational talent. This guy was going to take over the league. And I don't think he's bad, but I don't think I've ever thought in his time being an NFL QB that like this is the guy that is just going to take over this league. Like he has his moments, but I would say he's probably playing as like
I think it's more the organization he's in.
Yeah, this is true. The Jaguars
you stick him in a 49ers or Bills or something like that, you might start to see, or Bengals, for example, before.
I mean, Sam Darnold is your prime example right here. Sam Darnold got drafted quite high.
Darnold
went into a hideous situation, bounced to another hideous situation.
No, who was he with? Who?
He went to the Jets. And then he went to the Panthers.
No, the Jets never do anything wrong, do they?
They're renowned for are doing really well with young QBs, aren't they?
I'm not going to lie, I'm a generational hater of that team, but yeah, move on.
And then he went to the Panthers. Shockingly bad organization. Dreadful.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Was it him and Baker Mayfield were there at the same time, right? And like now look at both of them.
Baker's another one. Baker's another one who went
Yeah.
high Cleveland Browns. Everyone expected him to save the world, and you know what? And he did. To be honest, he got the Browns to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been enshrined in Ohio.
Yeah, I wanted Baker for the Patriots when the free agency came around. I was like, let's save our one, get someone else decent for the O line.
Yeah.
With our pick number 3 and get Baker. But they were sold on signing him big. So
yeah. So I mean, and now look at him. Now he's bounced around and got the edges knocked off, and lost the ego or whatever it is. There's so many ins, buts, and maybes. Baker's now ripping it up in Tampa. Sam Darnold's now ripping it up in Minnesota. It just takes time, and unfortunately, these young kids don't get it because the pressure on their draft pick, which has nothing to do with them, just weighs on their shoulders so much. Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, your list goes on for the last 4 or 5 years. Trey Lance is in there, probably going to drift off and end up being a personal trainer.
He was another.
Yeah, God, did you see his cameo for the Cowboys the other day?
I heard it was two plays and he got hoiked back out again or something.
Yeah, he was on for 2 plays, and then I think for the 3rd down they sent out their other backup QB, and I feel like even Tom Brady was like, "What is happening here?"
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
that's very strange. But
also, those are outliers because him and Richardson, I think, have only played, and I mentioned this on somewhere. I can't remember where I mentioned it, but Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, 2 rookie QBs, actually seeing the game's about balling right now.
Yeah,
have played 4 years solid college football as starters, or played an awful lot of college football. Trey Lance, Caleb Williams, a number of the other ones in the previous years, 1 season straight into the NFL.
On the Bo Nix and Daniels scenarios, look who their head coaches are as well.
Yeah.
You've got Sean Payton, very experienced, knows what he's doing, and Dan Quinn as well. I think he's doing a decent job with Daniels there. And is it Kingsbury?
Cliff Kingsbury, not the offensive coordinator.
Coach. He seems to be making.
He was good offensive
when he was Murray and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. So I think Caleb maybe it's the lack of leadership on that coaching. If they can get a decent coach, say for example, Bill Belichick decided to go to the Bears and work with Caleb, I reckon. Oh boy,
that's all right. Mike McCarthy will be on the job market soon.
Oh,
he's got to be gone. He's got to be gone this year, man.
Yeah, speaking of teams I'm generational haters of.
Right. Here we go. Matty, there we go. Here we go. Here's the cue for you then, Matty.
Right, team. It's time to dust off the old crisisometer, that trusty gadget that hasn't been calibrated since the Y2K scare. Let's fire it up.
Yeah.
Who's the head coach on the hot seat, do you reckon, Matty? Other than the guy in the AT&T Stadium. You can't see him because the sun's shining too brightly through the screens.
Yeah. By the way, what just again, I'm not just saying this because of my deep, dark hatred for them, but it's not going well when your star wide receiver is like, look, mate, we need curtains on the stadium. That's just,
I mean, that clip of CeeDee Lamb just running across the end zone, just going, and the ball just sailing past him, and he's just
way behind him. Yeah,
it's just like I can't see a thing. It's like just put some curtain. And the best thing I was listening to one of the podcasts. I think it was NFL Daily, and they were talking about it, and they were like, "Put some curtains up when you have concerts, when you have anything else other than an NFL game. They put curtains up, but they don't put them up for the NFL game."
And the funny thing was, after the game, I think it was a press conference.
They have a press conference
the day after, where Mike McCarthy was doing his press conference, and they decided to put like a window blocker or something, like a screen.
Put some screen across the windows to block the sun.
They were okay to do that, but not to put curtains on the fucking AT&T station.
Not in the middle of a game. Not a game. It was just brilliant. Mental. Jerry Jones saying, "Oh, by the way, we know where the sun's going to be. We shouldn't go that way. We should make sure that we're not playing into the sun." It's like, what? What? So yeah. So do we think Mike McCarthy is next for the chopping board, or is he somehow the Cowboys can't afford it, or what?
I think
he's gone.
To be fair, yeah, it's hard to argue against it, especially because he doesn't have a big upcoming deal, right? Like that was the whole thing, was that of amongst all of the contract drama that Dallas was having this year, their head coach was one of them, and he doesn't have this massive deal that they're going to have to pay off if they do get rid of him. I do have two.
They should get rid of him. Let's be honest. They should get rid of him.
Yes,
actually, no, they shouldn't. No, they should.
That's what I mean. This is kind of like, yeah, keep him. That's fine. If anything, give him a new deal. I think he's earned it.
Give him a new deal. Give him 30 million a year.
Injuries come into an issue as well with them. Injuries haven't helped him this year as well. But you can't use that as an excuse. Yeah.
I guess, but I mean, their whole defense has just been absolutely.
The thing is with their whole defense, right? It's two players and everybody else. And if those two players aren't firing, so Mike Parsons has been injured, great. Dexter Lawrence has shown up for a couple of weeks. Everybody else is just bodies. Just bodies. And they're not great. They're not great at coverage. They're not great at run stopping. It's like, and they're
when they hired Mike Zimmer, who thought that, that's an inspiring.
That will change it around,
I have a lot of issues with Dallas. Yeah, I think he's a good case for it. I think another one that I would like to throw in there, and it might be some low-hanging fruit, but given their current record of 2-8, when the owner came out and said, this is probably the best team we've ever had since I've owned this team. Oh boy. How on earth is Doug Peterson still in a job, by the way?
Yes.
I agree. I feel like that, and like, especially with how antsy he gets when anyone asks him about his job security, and he's like, why wouldn't I be fine? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Really? I mean, the thing is with Peterson, right? He's got history and he's got, a lot of experience. And he did have one blistering year when he took over from Urban Meyer, which was the car crash, as we've said, Matthew.
Hell of a situation.
The garbage fire in a trash can. The worst kit. That meme of that sort of car crash in a garbage can floating down a river because it was like a mess. That was the Jaguars. So he came in and he righted that, and he actually had a winning season, and they got pretty close. So I think he's got brownie points from there, but it's got to be running out. It's got to be. I'm surprised. I mean, I called it after the first London game, and I was like, is he going to be the second coach of a team who plays in green in London who doesn't make it back?
I just feel like
somehow he's still there.
I just feel like with how last season ended, because they had, what was it, like a 3-4 game lead over the Texans, literally with like 4 games left.
Yeah.
And then they lost their final 4 games, and the Texans ended up winning that division. That's a bad way to finish a season. And especially, again, I know we've talked about the AFC South to death, in that we all kind of feel like the Jags should have had this wrapped up to somewhat prevent this kind of
the AFC South should have been Patriots, like how when the Patriots just won their division. It should have been the Jags division for the last 6 or 7 years. And
again, like you said, there's obviously reasons for that. Fully aware that Trevor Lawrence's first season, the coaching situation is just not even worth talking about. It was horrendous. Let's call a spade a spade. But to then follow up that kind of horrific end to a season with like, okay, you know what? No, fine. We go again. And now it's not only, you're not even just competing and losing for the division, you are physically bottom of the division. Period. And there are, I quite like the Colts. I think the Colts are kind of plucky. Obviously, the Texans are quite a good team. I thought the Titans were going to be better this season than they are. They are not very good, and they are still above you. They have
none of those teams are any good this year, really.
No, exactly. Like even the Texans look pretty wobbly. Like they've already lost 4 games, which that doesn't sound like a lot, but in NFL terms, that's a fair whack. So of all the years that it feels like this division could be kind of up for grabs, this is definitely one, and they're fumbling big time.
Yeah, I think the injury situation as well for the Texans hasn't helped them. But my other team that I've got on the hot seat list. Going back to the NFC East, I got the Giants head coach, Brian Dable. I think he's a dead man walking.
Oh, do you think?
And I think the whole coaching staff will be cut here.
Yeah, I feel like the Giants need to do something.
I think they with their QB situation as well. I really do not rate Daniel Jones as
that's another one of my preseason outlandish statements to bring back, just to prove that I definitely do not get them all right. Where are we going? Oh, I'm sure Gary will be back in a second. I said that Daniel Jones is and will be the franchise QB for the Giants in this season. He will prove it. That one's definitely not come true. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's not looking good for either of the New York teams, but it is looking pretty rotten for the Giants right now. It's not good because I'm seeing now that people are just thinking that Daniel Jones has just played his last ever snap for the Giants, right? Like people are just saying he's
possibly
done.
Yeah.
He's back. But yeah, what do you think, Gary, about the Giants? Obviously, it's not looking good. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I don't know if he doesn't bench, and I know they're evaluating the QB situation, which if you listen to NFL,
who else do they have as a backup?
Rosenthal, Tommy DeVito. It's Tommy. No. It's not him.
Back.
It won't be him. It will be Drew Lock, which is even worse potentially.
Mamma mia!
No, he'll be finding out. He'll be getting lasagna from his mama delivered, and the best thing about that would be the agent on the sideline, right? Come on, that was the one of the best stories.
Full fedora, the whole thing.
Full fedora on the sideline, the mafia hitman on the sideline as an agent. I don't know if he doesn't do something about the QB situation. I think he's got to be in. He's got to be in the mix of somebody who's probably not getting an extension, or certainly be asked to look elsewhere at the end of the season. They probably don't do it now. They probably see the season out now because I think
definitely
it's almost now. I know a couple. Once Salah went, they talked about whether or not everyone else will start kind of making the moves, but the dominoes haven't fallen as quickly as I would have expected after that news, which is quite surprising. But that's not a bad shout, that one. I mean, Shane Steichen's got to be always in there just because the Panthers just suck.
Yes,
but he's the 7th coach in like 2 years. So
I don't know if
please God, just leave anybody. Just leave him there for a year or so. Just give him a chance, almost.
Okay. May I come out with a bit of a spicy one? Well, I mean, it is a bit spicy. Gonna head over to the AFC North. See, I know we've already spoken about this, and I know it's very, not to totally give it away, but it's very un-Bengals like to do this. What point do we have to look at Zach Taylor? I feel like this year is needs to happen for the Bengals. They're going to have cap issues.
They're going to have big cap issues coming up, aren't they?
Kind of like the way the 49ers season feels a little bit. This was the last season of keeping the band together. And, when Jamar Chase gets paid, it's going to be tough for them to keep everyone together. But where are they? They're 4-6. So it's not dead and buried, but with the Steelers and Ravens at 7-2 and 7-3, it's going to be hard for them to make it.
It's wild card at most for the Bengals now, isn't it? And I think they have to win out because they are playing a lot of the wild card contenders for the rest of it. I mean, they're playing the Broncos. They've got to play the Chargers. They've got to play the teams in and around the wild card conversations.
I just feel like there's a lot of systemic issues in that. I feel like the way they lost both of their games to the Ravens are very telling about this Bengals team this season, because offensively, this team is so good. And when they are cooking, they are cooking. But defensively, they can't seem to be able to stop anything. Like, they will literally score 41 points in a game and then let in 42 and then be like, how could that possibly happen?
Oh, heartbreak. Well, it's not. It's heartbreaking for the offensive players. But
I just feel like every week there's just that ending of game shot of Joe Burrow being like, I could literally not have done anything else.
What
Anything
else
better.
could I do?
Yeah.
What else can I do?
Look at look at the losses. I mean, like what week 2? Okay, week 1 against the Patriots, that was a surprise. That shouldn't have never happened. But hey, moving on. Week 2, they lost by 1 point. Week 3, they lost to Washington by what? 5.
Yeah.
Lost to the Ravens twice by bare minimum points.
Yeah, but like
It's
a
just
combined
there, they're
3
just
points.
not-
Yes.
A combined three
Yeah.
after scoring 9 touchdowns, throwing for
It's
800
frustrating.
yards and whatever
is.
else. Yeah.
I just think that's
But again, it's probably the easy one, isn't it? Is just to find the defensive coach then, because the defense has not been up to scratch.
Yeah.
That's probably the way he gets away from that. And same as Eberflus of the Bears, he's now fired the offensive coordinator. Therefore, he's made the change, and his job is potentially safe.
I feel like that's when you know though that it's like it's not the beginning of the end, but obviously like at a point, okay, they've
Coming.
changed a coordinator. Now, if it doesn't start working,
What?
then
What's left?
they're going to start looking at the guy who is in charge of these guys who are not working, right? Like, there's only so much you can escape.
There's
with it.
only,
Like,
there's only
they've still got that. They haven't got rid of their defensive coordinator, and maybe they don't need to. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not a professional football coach. I'm not going to say like I know exactly how to sort this, but I just think this year just feels like it's kind of petering out for the Bengals. And I know the Bengals always start slow, but I think their start to this season was like worrying. Like you said,
there's slow, and then there's
no shade at the Patriots at all. But I'm pretty sure our week 1 I'm pretty sure
that knocked a lot of people out of survival pools.
Yeah, we said that game was going to be absolutely disgusting, and the Bengals were just going to blow the Patriots out of the water. And I still remember just waking up to that result and being like, "There's no way that has happened. Like, there's no way that has happened."
I was like, "Yes, we are back." Lads.
Yeah, mate, I bet you was it.
Oh yeah. Let's be honest, DJ. Even you were like, "We beat the Bengals." What? Right? Really? Did we really beat? Does that really happen? Yeah. I mean, it was one of those ones. But it's just as you say, systemic of the Bengals season. But the Bengals seasons have always been like that for the last couple of years, apart from that 1 or 2 seasons when everyone's fit and everyone's healthy and everything just works just right for them, and they smash into the playoffs. And if their star players and all their star performers aren't working, the Bengals aren't a good team. They're not a team that gets stuff done unless Joe Burrow plays Joe Burrow like and Jamar Chase goes off, and
then sometimes that's not enough.
Even that's not enough because they don't have enough stars. They can't. Joe Burrow can play well, and Jamar Chase can play well, and T Higgins can rack him up, and whatever else. But then if their defense just doesn't bother, then they're like, what? So you got to wonder what's going on and the balance there.
I think they missed. They lost quite a few key pieces in that Bengals defense last year. I'm trying to think of the player that they lost.
I think you
Wasn't
are
Burns,
right.
was it?
I think it's
Not
not.
Burns.
It's not the same.
No,
unit
he was a
that it has been.
Panthers. He was a Panthers Burns, wasn't he?
It was some player.
There was a defensive end or a sort of a defensive
he's a safety.
sort of safety guy.
I think he went to
I can't remember.
Bills or not. Well, anyway, it'll come to me in a minute.
It'll come to you. But and I still think Sean McVay is not going to be there at the end of the season.
But I think he walks. I don't think they're going to get rid.
Do you remember my spicy take? I don't think he'll get rid, but I think he won't.
Yeah.
He'll be like, I've won the Super Bowl. I've had 3 years of miserable injuries and everything going horribly wrong. I've had enough of this. I'm going to take up the NBC sitting in the booth.
Because he kind of threatened it before, didn't he?
Yeah. Not that I would ever feel sorry for a member of the Rams team, but you do have to say, since winning the Super Bowl, it's been
the house has fallen around him. Yeah, it's been
like,
pretty nasty.
Obviously, he's always going to have that. Yeah, but I won the Super Bowl. Of course, that's pretty wicked. But from going from that to the absolute
worst events of the Super Bowl,
that's pretty rough. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Do we have any more sneak candidates getting fired? Just anyone that doesn't win the NFC South should get fired.
Yeah,
pretty much
Raiders?
everybody in the NFC South.
Raiders.
I don't know how much confidence they're going to have in Pierce at the end of the year. Now that Brady's kind of going to be in there doing
that
some
minority
stuff.
ownership. Yeah,
I forgot about. Yeah, I'm assuming he's going to probably have a fair amount to say.
He might phone up his. He might phone up his old mate and say,
Bill.
"Hey, do you want to come out to the desert and hey, taxes
I'll
are
come out
taxes are good out here in Nevada."
Yeah,
Well,
I
no,
feel
no,
like
here's
that
the-
team could probably challenge Chargers and Broncos. So,
You look at it. The second place in that division is up for grabs.
Yeah,
It just needs,
yeah,
it needs something, and it looks to me like the Broncos might. And you say that the Broncos might be getting together with Peyton now, but then you think Harbaugh at the Chargers the Chargers are getting the Harbaugh bump, right? They are massively getting it this year. They are massively getting the Harbaugh uplift.
they are.
Now, how long that lasts for before Harbaugh starts to annoy professional athletes with his very college-specific ways, you'll get 4 or 5 seasons, maybe 3 or 4 seasons out of that before professional athletes go, "Excuse me, I'm a human being, not a child. You can't talk to me like that." Start to sort of push back on it. But it's much like Matty. It's much like Marino. He comes in, he wins things, but eventually teams get tired of his way of management. Harbaugh's got that about him. But the Chargers are, showing signs of being a team to watch out for.
Don't do this to me, Gary.
Don't. Just when you think you're out.
You get ripped back in.
Jesse
yeah,
Bates, that was it.
There you go, Jesse Bates. Yeah, he'd go to the Bills, didn't he?
I feel like you do
No,
have
he went
to.
to the Falcons.
Of course, he's balling out the Falcons. He's the only the
Yeah.
Falcons defense.
Mega money as well.
But he's
Sorry,
playing
mate. Go
like
on.
it.
No, mate, no, you're all good. I just, I think I feel like the Chargers are such a weird team because I feel like a lot of the time they're not terribly fun to watch. I think would be polite. But then also you'd kind of have to say it's working. Like they've only let in 118 points, which if just from a quick scan, that is the least by an absolute country mile.
Mhm.
Like some pretty good teams have let in almost double
Yeah.
that. I mean, the Panthers have let in
The way they're doing that, though, they're clever about it. They're keeping the opposition offense off the field.
Yes,
It's not that their defense is good. It's just that they are grinding the opposition down.
Yeah, they are just the
They're
master
playing
of
hardball,
position.
running football, power football, whatever you want to call it. Give it to the big guys, and it's not like a surprise that this is what they're doing when you realise Harbaugh went out and got Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins as a tandem.
That's what I was about to say. It's like you look at
It was
the roster,
obvious.
you think there's no one like major there, but they're getting it done.
Obvious. They're getting it done. It was obvious what he was going to do, what his game plan was going to be. First and second down, just churn the ball up the middle, get 4, get 3, get 2, and Herbert on third down will probably do some magic.
McConkey's all right. He's decent.
Yeah, McConkey's a good player. Harbaugh's managed to get Quentin Johnson as a viable wide receiver somehow. And I know the Chargers fans are questioning that, but it's getting it done, and they are still there at week 11. They haven't charged out, if you like. They haven't blown and fizzled out. So, I mean, they're right there in the mix. So.
Yeah.
So would we. 6-3 is a great record to have right now. So Herbert's using his legs a bit more. So maybe he's unlocked. Maybe it has just been they needed a proper coach there, and now they've got one. How long it lasts, we'll see. But as I said,
checking to see how much salary they're going to have in 2025 as well. Because I
don't think they're a problem. I don't think they're in a problem.
I was going to say,
Justin Herbert probably.
I think they're not looking too bad.
Seventh.
Yeah, so
they're going to have about
if they do
75
well,
mil.
they can do some moves. It's happening already. Matty's going to be turning up in a sky blue Chargers uniform.
Quote our good friend Gino, I'm ready to get hurt again.
Ready to get hurt again.
Let's do it. Right, boys. I suppose with time ticking on, should we take a look at this evening's matchup?
It's a bit of a as it's called, an East Side Thriller, NFC East showdown.
Oh, it's a beefy one.
It's a beefy one. It's a divisional one. you hope it lives up to last week. I can't imagine it's going to be quite the shootout that last week's Thursday night was, but I think this is going to be a bit more of an arm wrestle than it has been in the last few years. I think the Commanders are definitely playing much better. The Eagles are starting to come out of that weird funk that they were in at the beginning of the season, where they just couldn't win. And then, from the end of last season, winner takes top spot in the NFC East as well. It's all to play for. This is a big game in the context of post-season seeding and positions and all sorts of stuff. So, and all due respect, I think any commander at the beginning of the season, if you told them that by week 11 you'd be in a winner takes all, not a winner takes all scenario, but a battle for the top spot, they would have literally snapped your arm off for that, because nobody expected that. Your rookie QB, rookie new coaching staff, rookie receiver, not a massive sort of amount of talent.
GM, owner,
new GM, everything changed. To be in the position they're in, absolutely flying, would have loved it. They have reached the Kingsbury Cliff, though. Who's renowned for starting out really fast, 7-0, 7-1, 7-2, and then just completely and utterly disappearing for the second half of the season. So that is one thing that would be interesting to watch, because I don't know, remember when he was at Arizona, Cardinals went out to a 7-0 start one year, and everyone was like, "Oh, the Cardinals are on their way. Watch out for the Cardinals." Didn't win another game. Ended up, I think, I don't think they won another game after that. So
I mean, looking at their schedule, they got Eagles, Cowboys. They've got a lot of division. Eagles again, Falcons, Cowboys. It is a tough little stretch at the end there. So
apart from the 2 games against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was going to say, classing them as tough feels
it's divisional.
Feels a touch.
It's divisional. It's only because it's divisional. It's like any other divisional game. It doesn't matter if the other team is absolutely pants; they'll get up for that game because it's divisional. Yeah.
I think my take on this is, I hope it does. Like you say, it's going to be a massive game and a really good, enjoyable game. There's like 30 points each, and it goes down to the wire, etc. I want Commanders to do it because I think they're in. It's nice to have like a little, the underdog.
It's underdoggy story to it, isn't it? Yeah.
I just got this feeling, this niggling feeling that the Eagles are going to get it done, and it's just because of the situation that happened against the Steelers game that last. I don't know if you guys saw the game or not, but it was, I think the game was on the line, or they were going in field goal range, they had to stop the Steelers. They burned all their timeouts. They had to stop the Steelers, and the Steelers did a hard count, and someone jumped.
Fourth down, yes. The rookie jumped.
And Tomlin just went, thank you. Like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, you knew they were never snapping that one. They were never snapping that one. They were taking 5 yards, and they were going to kick it. The rookie
went 5. I just think that's going to just dent them slightly as a morale situation thing. But like I said, I hope Daniels does really well.
I hope likes it, because it's definitely it's being touted, isn't it? Daniels versus Hurts.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts has been playing much better recently in the last few weeks, and the stats of like he's run in so many TDs, scored so many rushing TDs in the last whatever. I think you've got to take with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because Jalen Hurts' rushing TDs aren't quite the same as Jaden Daniels' rushing TDs, because Jalen Hurts' rushing TDs tend to be from half a yard out with 11 players pushing him over the line, rather than running it in from 8, 10, 15 yards. So those stat lines can be twisted in whatever way, and I just think I'm with you that I want the Commanders to do it, but then you just look on paper and you just think Hurts, AJ Brown, Saquon, you just think the Eagles have just a bit too much firepower in the positions of importance. I just think they might get it, and they might sneak back to the top of that division.
I also think you've kind of got to look at it as, I suppose the Eagles are are used to being in this position, right, of competing for this division. Like, especially recently, obviously, know that the Commanders have won the division before. I know they're not just like a totally irrelevant football team.
It's been a while.
In recent memory, exactly. This has very much been Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys. So the Eagles are in this position of they have been in this position before. They I guess know what they're doing in this scenario. But then you could also say maybe that's not like a bad thing, right? Like this Commanders team is riding high, and there's a lot of, not that I just want to say like just rely on vibes, but obviously there's some pretty good vibes around that Commanders team right now, right? Like everything is feeling good. They're feeling happy. They're feeling comfortable with their game. I mean, they've taken on other kind of contending teams like the Ravens, and they laid on a pretty good show for themselves, right? Like the Commanders looked good against the Ravens, or especially Daniels.
They spanked the Cardinals a few weeks back as well. So,
and the Cardinals have been like a weirdly hot sometimes team. Like the Cardinals are weird, but I feel like that's a whole episode in itself.
Definitely.
But I don't know. I kind of fancy the Cardinals. The Cardinals aren't playing. I kind of fancy the Commanders in this, but I know if I fully endorse them, that will be a kiss of death. So I feel like I'm gonna have to back the Eagles.
Although you did nail it last week when you talked about the Bengals, saying you would be upset and you would be mortified if you woke up in the morning and found out that the Bengals had gone out and balled out and scored 34 points and still managed to lose.
Bengals gonna Bengal.
Bengals gonna Bengal. You did kind of call it last week that exactly what happened, that they went out, scored 30 odd points and still managed to lose because they just couldn't stop anybody. They are the Newcastle United under Kevin Keegan of the NFL.
That's what I mean. I'm not even a Bengals fan, and they just frustrate the life out of me. I can only imagine being actually part of that fan base and how it must feel. But yeah. So 2-1 then. We're going
2-1 Commanders. I think the Eagles will do it, but I do not only by like 3 or something. I don't know what the line is and whatever else, because that's Paul from Good Teams Win, Great Teams Covers line, and I don't know where that. Yeah, we don't know that. Who? What right? I don't know if you guys have caught there's news later on, late this afternoon. Prime Video have picked up on possibly. I'm assuming it here, but probably our favorite video game, and it looks like they're bringing out a new Prime sort of video storyline or 4-part series about our favorite game.
Oh, that EA Sports logo is absolutely iconic. Yeah, this is exciting. I love an Amazon Prime documentary, to be fair. They do good work.
I mean, you can't fault them, right? They have been. Prime Video stuff looks amazing, from stuff about Man City. They've done loads of different things about United. Yeah. They've done loads of things about tennis and stuff like that. This looks to me like perfect hunker down binge watch. 26th of November, 4-part series about how they made Madden NFL be Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah, so the perfect time to release it. Madden is possibly the introduction to NFL for so many millions of people. It's how people found out what the NFL was, the evolution of that game, the commercial brilliance and how it brought NFL to such a wide audience. I can't wait for that. I don't know what it's going to be about. It just looks like it looks like Prime have gone off and looked into it. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Obviously, I have a fair affiliation with the games. Like I said, that's the only way I got into the NFL. Is my Twitch chat just bullied me into playing this game. That I thought, fine, all right, it's only £20. It's almost Christmas. Like the season's basically over, right? So I was like, yeah, fine, I'll buy it. And that's kind of kickstarted this whole thing for me. And I know there's quite a history behind these games, because I mean, like even when I was first getting into it, I didn't even know why it was called Madden, and I just think like that's what on earth has that got to do with anything? Like, I'm going to be so interested because, again, I never got to witness much of the whole John Madden stuff, but I know how much of an iconic guy he is, and I am so excited to see just like a deep dive behind the whole thing. Like, I'm so excited for it. DJ, I know you're a Madden player.
Yeah, massive Madden player. So I definitely would like to see how. I think it's more of like how they created the game from. I think it's the 20th year in it, or the 20th. Yes, it's the 20. 20th year of Madden. I think it will start like from how they created the game back in God knows how many years, and then to what it is now, how it is
30
now.
years, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, it's complete evolution. The first Madden, the first games were wow. I mean, you're talking looking here, 16-bit. I must thought graphics are so simple, and whatever else, but the authenticity of it, and that's what it stood out from anything else. So and
I mean, when it first came out, I was like, is it EA just trying to get some money out of us again? Like they're trying to.
What's this?
Doesn't it? It looks like it's a proper documentary about it all.
Yeah, initially it was like, oh, here you go, EA Sports. You got to subscribe to it to kind of get it because it's probably not you got part of your Ultimate Team. You've got to go and buy some cars to get it or something.
Open the
now
pack.
it's like open the pack and get it. But no, it doesn't look like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it because it's as you say, it just resonates with all NFL UK fans. That's how
open a pack. Open a pack. My years was getting a Premiership shiny badge. Oh, I got a shiny.
Shiny badge. That was it, mate. That was it. That was how it all.
Yeah, and then now look at it.
Now it's just insane, isn't it? But as you said, it just goes back to what we talked about at the beginning: how much social media has opened the NFL to everybody now. And we are blessed, if you like, from an UK perspective, of how much we can see and how much access we have and how quickly we can get to stuff. Whereas before it used to be like you'd only find out on Thursday morning when First Down came out what the scores were. Those were the days. Those were the days.
Yeah.
Anyway, boys, that's been an hour and a bit of fly-by fun, which is always nice with us. And always nicely organised.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Great chat.
As I say, go and tune in to Thursday Night Football to see how badly we called the games, because let's be honest, we're renowned for getting it so spot on. One of us is going to be right. One of us is going to be right.
First time of the year, mate, I'm telling you.
It's going to be tied after double.
We're expecting a shootout thriller. It's going to be a 3-3 tie.
6 or 2 field goals each and nothing else. No offense anywhere. Yeah.
Absolutely honking. You what? No, it'll be the way it is, because I mildly forgot I booked tomorrow off work. So I'm like, amazing. I can actually stay up to watch Thursday Night Football. You watch the one damn week I get to watch this game. It's the most mean thing ever. It's gonna suck. There's no. It's gonna go to overtime and still be like 0-0. It's gonna suck. I know it is. It's gonna be horrendous, but I'm so excited for it.
I mean, even this week's schedule, there's quite some nice juicy games for this week, so a lot to look out for.
Lot to look out for, and we'll delve into
on Thursday.
We'll delve into that the schedule on Sunday, on the Sunday breakfast, or the Sunday brunch, or the Sunday lunch, whatever time we end up deciding to come on. Not really sure what time we'll be coming on Sunday.
Snack, I don't know.
Lots have changed. Who knows where we are right now? But for now, this has been NFL Around the UK on Thursday Night Football. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and we'll see you soon. Are you ready to get hurt again, Matty?